Warning: this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside podcast. I am your host, John Venom. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. And please, don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week.
Time and space. Vast indifference of the universe.
We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And welcome back to the Demon Inside.
Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Venom, and today we are going to be doing the Demon Inside Howell Donaldson III, also known as Trey. So last week we did Amin Presley, and Amin Presley was the guy who killed 3 homeless men and a female that he was trying to rob. And Howell just about did the same thing. But before I start talking about that, let's go through his life. So Trey was born in North Carolina to his mother and father, Rosita and Howell Jr. His family eventually moved to Tampa, where Donaldson grew up alongside his older sister and younger brother. People who knew Trey called him well-mannered, well-spoken, and even shy. His family has been described as very religious and attended church without walls, where Trey was a member of the youth group. Trey wanted to be a basketball player, so he started playing at Tampa Catholic. He continued playing when he transferred to Plant High School. There, he didn't make first string or even the starting team, so he ended up transferring to Alonzo High School, and he played guard on the varsity team. In 2011, Trey graduated from high school and went on to study at St. John's University in Queens, New York. He was a walk-on student athlete for the men's basketball team his first year of college, but did not play in a game. Trey graduated from the university in January 2017 with a major in sports management and a minor in business. Trey returned to Tampa after graduation and started working in a customer support role at the Ultimate Medical Academy. He was terminated in May for absenteeism when he stopped showing up for work. A friend of Trey's met up with him kind of at the end of July and said he looked unkempt and unlike himself. Said he was no longer the sharp, together guy they knew in high school. He needed a haircut and his clothes were sloppy. His friend also noticed he would repeat the same mundane questions to all his friends, even after they had answered multiple times. The same friend later told police that Trey mentioned he was looking for a job, had broken up with someone, and was trying to save money. About a month later, Trey met with that friend again and said he was having trouble with his parents. So at some point in the fall of 2017, friends say that Trey hit rock bottom and he was strapped for cash. He met with his friend again on September 30th and said he wasn't in a good spot. and Trey asked if he knew how he could get a gun. One day after asking his friend about getting a gun, Trey reached out to a different friend and asked if he could buy him a one-way plane ticket to Los Angeles because he couldn't use his card and was in a bit of a situation. So Trey's behavioral changes had begun to trouble his on-again, off-again girlfriend, and she said it was weird. Her name was Nicole Minnis, and that's his ex-girlfriend, and it kept getting weirder, according to her. She hadn't seen Donaldson in years. They had been in touch by phone intermittently after the relationship ended in 2013. Then out of the blue, he returned to Tampa in mid-August. He told her he had lost his job. He had been a customer support employee at Ultimate Medical Academy. She says, this is Nicole, his ex, it was very strange as to how he would reach out to me and not one of his close friends. So they spoke off and on, and Nicole and her mother, after a while, decided they were going to let him stay in the garage, which had been converted to a bedroom. And he was kind of evasive when they would ask him about the job that he had. And he said he would tell them, I'm going through some stuff right now. I'm trying to get my feet on the ground. And that's what Trey said. Trey's sisters and friends started contacting Nicole. They hadn't seen him for days, and they were worried about him. So not only his sister having a baby at that time, not only did he not go see the new baby, he took off running out of the hospital when he saw her sister's boyfriend, the father of the baby. So later on, he found a job, but everyone was shocked to see that he was working at McDonald's. And this was a college-educated guy. And all his stuff were in plastic trash bags. So they couldn't understand what was going on with Trey. On October 3rd, Trey went to Shooter's World and bought a .40 caliber Glock 27 handgun. So now we're coming up to the murders. Now, before I start with these, he started on October 3rd. He got the gun. October 5th, he started visiting an adult-themed website. And on this site, it's a cam girl site. Now, they don't mention the name of it. It could be Cam Soda or it could be Chatterbait. But it was redacted in the warrant, so I couldn't really find it. But what it is it's real-life models who basically do sexual things on camera for people to watch. And this guy was getting on, and you can interact with them for money. And this guy was getting on there as of October 5th. And every time he committed a murder, within that time, like right after the murder, he would then get back on the site. And the police, they figured it out because when they started doing his phone dump, which is all his information on his phone, they ended up finding out that on October 9th, when he killed Benjamin Mitchell, while he was still walking away from the site of killing Benjamin Mitchell, he started watching this porn site. He did the same thing October 11th with Monica Hoffa. The same thing again on October 19th with Anthony Nabel. And the same thing again with Ronald Felton on November 14th. Now, November 14th, it was his last victim. Remember, Amin Presley only killed 4 as well. Amin Presley killed 3 men and 1 woman. And this guy did the same thing. He killed 3 men and 1 woman. None of these people were homeless, but there was one guy that was helping homeless people. Trey showed a pattern of visiting this adult-themed website after committing the 3 homicides. Well, actually 4. I find this indicative of Jason Dalton, the Uber killer. Remember him? We did a show about him a while back, and he was the guy that said that on his app, the devil was talking to him, a demon, and it was telling him to kill. How do we know that this app wasn't doing the same thing to Trey? In a discussion of the adult site, police noted 269 internet activities. 269 internet activities between October 5th and November 4th. These were the 3 first killings that he did, and there was 269 internet activities to that adult site. Does that have anything to do with his frame of mind? Does that have anything to do with demons? Sure it does. This is lust. This is sin. This is murder.
We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey guys, now it's time for the Uber shout out of the week. And this week I have a few shout outs. So I'm going to start with Ciara. And Ciara, I picked her up and I was taking her to the airport because she was heading out of town. And we started talking, and it's so funny because we got stuck kind of in traffic, so we had to take like all the little back roads around. And we started talking about like the show and stuff. And it was kind of like almost at the end of our drive that we started talking about the show, but she seemed really cool because she has a lot of those same traits that I do. I'm not really a hugger, neither is she. And she doesn't, like kind of people are like, yeah, you need to stay away type of deal. But it was so funny because at the end of the trip, I was going to tell her, oh, I'll give you a hug. But I didn't want to do it because I didn't know her that well. But that would have been hilarious. But she told me something that I'm going to share with you guys right now. And I give her totally all the credit for this. She said this: is your ass jealous of your mouth because of all the shit you're talking? She told me that, and I died laughing. So, Ciara, that was for you. That's your shout out. Then we have Jose. Jose, so when I get people in the car, I usually do a little joke. And so my joke is this. I tell them, if it's too cold or too hot, let me know and I'll change it. If you don't like the music, I can change that. I said, if you don't like my singing, I'm so sorry, I can't change that. And he didn't really laugh. And I said, oh, I guess that's an old joke. And he's like, yeah, I've heard that before. And I was like, well, who said that before? And then I thought, wait a minute, Jose. I said, I've had you in my car before. He's like, yeah. We started talking, and sure enough, I actually had a shout out for him a while back. And he goes, man, I didn't even listen to that show. He goes, but I'll listen to it now. I said, okay. So Jose, for the second shout out, this is yours. And then also today I picked up Noah and Steven. So it was Noah's birthday, and Steven's from Florida. And as you guys know, when somebody tells me that they are from Florida, it's just, the show is coming on. I'm so sorry, but if you're telling me you're from Florida, most of my shows are in Florida, as you know. So we started talking about, well, I brought up the fact that it's a true crime supernatural podcast. And of course, they started thinking supernatural as in ghosts and things like that. And I explained what it was. But so they had a good laugh about it because we ended up talking about the chupacabra here in Texas. And so Steven, who is from Florida, I went ahead and told him, look, I'm going to play these. And I said, have you ever heard of these guys? And which is the 3 that I have on my trailer. If you haven't listened to my trailer, listen to it. And those are the 3 guys that I found were the same. And anywho, first thing out of their mouths was, oh yeah, bath salts. But then they heard the trailer and they were really, hopefully intrigued enough to listen to the show. But Noah, happy birthday, brother. And Steven, man, have a safe trip here. He's leaving in a week. I hope San Antonio treats you right. And don't get possessed when you get back to Florida, brother. Thank you, guys. Back to the show.
And welcome back to The Demon Inside.
But while he was working at the McDonald's, his manager said he had asked him if he could sleep in the lobby at night because he couldn't go back to his ex-girlfriend's house. And search warrants indicated that Donaldson was living with his parents but also staying with Nicole. While they were doing this phone dump and checking his web servers and everything, his web history included Tampa Police Department social media platforms, specifically media that was related to the Seminole Heights murders. On November 28th, records show that Trey performed multiple online searches for flights. That same day, he went to work and told his manager he was going through something and needed advance payment. Trey worked until noon, then left to get cash, then came back and said he needed more and really needed to leave town. But before leaving again, Trey handed the McDonald's manager a salad bag containing something heavy and made her promise not to look inside. The manager didn't look in the bag, but handed it off to a police officer who was in the restaurant so they could check it. The officer found a .40 caliber Glock inside. Trey was detained when he returned to the restaurant. He agreed to speak with officers and allowed them to examine his car, his phone, and his gun. When they had placed him on the ground, he tilted his head to the left and addressed a police officer who was handcuffing him. Trey said, and I quote, "I'm sorry." The officers didn't ask what he was sorry for. So as Trey was sitting on the back of the patrol car with his hands handcuffed in front of his body, Trey told officers he was trying to leave town. This is what he said, and I quote, "I'm just trying to get out of here so I can go back to school." End quote. He said he had spent 5 years at St. John's University in New York. He suggested officers take him to the airport. He said, and I quote, "I'm just trying to get my education and further my career. I just want to do good in the world." End quote. So late that night, police officially arrested Howell Emmanuel Donaldson III, who was at the time 24 years old, and charged him with the 4 murders. At the time of his arrest, he had no previous criminal history in Florida. All he had was some traffic citations that he got, and that was pretty much it. Donaldson, Trey, was given 4 life sentences. The detective asked his mother if she noticed any changes in her son. The mother said this, and I quote, Some in the last couple of months, but not like this. He was raised in the church, raised not to do this. We all know, Demon Insiders, that when these demons are looking for somebody to possess, they're trying to possess somebody that they can hurt more. And listening to his mother and father on some of these interviews, when they talk to them, they're very, very religious. He was very religious, and all of a sudden he changed. Could the porn have changed him? Sure. Could it have been something else that changed him? Whatever it was turned him into this killing machine that he killed one right after the other, after the other, after the other, like Amin Presley. Now, for me, the similarities are there. It was 3 males, 1 female. These are 2 very young men who had their whole future ahead of them. Remember, Amin Presley talked about bloodlust and that he felt like he could kill at any time. This guy didn't say any of that, but why else would he just kill and kill and kill and kill if he didn't have the bloodlust in him? So as I was going through this and looking for information, I ended up finding a third, which was the LA serial killer. His name is Jared Powell. And Jared killed 3 homeless people and 1 man who he was robbing. That sounds pretty familiar to me again, doesn't it? Now, this case just happened in 2023, at the last part of 2023, so I really don't have too much on him. I know that he was a community center, something or other, but he hasn't really spoken, hasn't really said anything. All I can go by is the 4 victims and that he was shooting them. Now, what I do know is that he sued the city and gained $700,000 before all this happened. $700,000. And what was he doing besides killing homeless people? He was robbing a random man that he followed home from a charging station to rob him. That doesn't make sense if you have $700,000. So, for me, the LA serial killer, which he says, and I know this for a fact as well, he doesn't want to be known as a serial killer. Neither does Howell Donaldson III, and neither did Amin Presley. All 3 of them said they were not serial killers. By definition, they are. But they refuse to be called serial killers. And the other thing that I find really weird is that all 3 men are in their mid-20s to early 30s. And they're 3 very educated men. Any person that commits a sin, according to a priest of the Catholic faith, it's a way in for these demons. I don't know if that is true or not true, because that's what they say, that every sin is the same, no matter whether it's cheating or murder or whatever. To us as people, murder is a lot different than cheating. But in the world of sinners, sin is sin. So does it make a difference if you cheat on a test or you kill a person? Does it make a difference if you jaywalk, or is it just sins against the Ten Commandments? I think that these demons show up, jump in, do their mess, jump out, and they leave these people holding the bag. And there's nothing we can do about it. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to y'all next week.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform. A new episode of the Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on all our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside podcast at gmail.com or click on the link down below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to our website, thedemoninsidepodcast.com. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time. If I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was written and created by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King. And the title song, Demon Inside, was produced by Rice Pulver, composer lyricist Peter Shelley, and performed by Conjure One.